I'm Tim. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to just be your average dad working out, having so much fun. Going to be doing biceps today, which is by far my favorite group of muscles to work out. Just your very basic bro in that. Going to start out though with doing some pull-ups. It's not going to be pretty. Usually I work on my pull-ups on Monday, but it just doesn't seem to be getting the job done. So I'm going to be trying to hit it a little bit today as well. And that's it. Let's get into this. Two. Oh, this is not fantastic. Let me keep trying. Just keep hoping that I'll come down and it'll just be amazing one morning instead of being slightly disappointing. It's got to get better soon. I started doing calorie counting again with my wife, and means I should lose weight, which means it should get easier. Use that. Oh, my my little brother, my younger brother, is really good at pull-ups. I just want to see him. I want to see how many he can do at the weight that I'm at. Because I feel like it would be easier to do pull-ups. I think he's probably 40 pounds lighter than me. With the vest, maybe 60 pounds lighter. I'm curious how well he'd do with an added 60 pounds. I used to think though that like there was a long time where I thought pull-ups was like the skinny guys game where they do so many pull-ups because they're just smaller. But I saw a few videos now of some really big guys just cranking out pull-ups. Like, okay, it's not that people are thinner. It's just not pushing for it. This is me pushing for it. This will be good when I'm really good at doing pull-ups. It'll be good to look back and see struggling. All right, let's get to something that I really enjoy. Let's get to bicep curls. A little bit more. A little better. Makes me feel better doing bicep curls or pull-ups. Tell you what though, the 20-pound vest definitely makes the rest of the day feel lighter. So I didn't know this before I got it. I didn't really notice it too much, but that the weight vest restricts your breathing. Makes sense. You have more weight on your chest. It's tight. I haven't really had a problem with it. I think part of it is that I, do learn to take deeper breaths or use my diaphragm for breathing more, and I guess that helps. So I didn't really feel it, but I was thinking about it, and in high intense situations, your oxygen levels go down because you start holding your breath, getting ready for a fight. Even though it's the worst thing to do, it's something we do. We hold our breaths, and when you hold that breath, it makes it harder to think, to have good thoughts, and then you get frustrated and angry. When I worked in a group home, it was pointed out is that's like when you're having a fight with somebody, especially if it's like passionate, and you just can't think anymore, and you're trying to say something, you know what you're thinking, but you just can't say it and put it into words, and you're like, I know what I want to say, I just can't say it. And just point out that that's part of that whole being tense and not breathing. You're gonna get the wrong answer. You're not gonna be able to express yourself as well. So you have to breathe, force yourself to breathe, relax. It's also the same for test taking. A lot of times people start holding their breath during tests, and that's why they can't remember all the stuff that they studied for. Even though they spent hours studying, once they start taking that test, they start holding their breaths, and then they have problems with the work. So, breathing is important to being able to think and process, which made me wonder how often police officers are making possibly bad decisions in high intense situations because they also have the added stress of the vest weighing them down and making their breathing even harder. And I looked it up, and there's studies that show that it restricts officers' breathing, and they didn't make the connection that hey, it would also then affect their thinking. But it was interesting that the device designed to save their lives could also be something that causes them to not handle the situation as well as they could have because they can't think clearly. If you've never experienced that concept, I definitely encourage you to take a simple test when you're like maybe a math test or some simple questions you should know the answers to, and then go run a mile as hard as you can, and then try see how well you do on that test again. Once you're breathing heavy, see how much it's going to affect you. It can be startling. Like I said, it's even something that affects people when they're just sitting down and taking a test in school. They're not relaxed, so they just can't remember. Because if you're stressed, your body's thinking, hey, like we gotta get ready to run. Something's wrong in this room. we got to fight. And I imagine that in a classroom, there's a lot of people that are tense. And the more people that are tense, the harder it is to think clearly and to think about anything more than your need to survive. And most important is don't argue with your significant other when you're mad. Don't try, because you're not going to have clear, concise thoughts. That's one of the things that saved my marriage is that when I'm mad, I'm really angry. That's when I just say, hey, I can't talk about this anymore. I need to go think because I don't want to say anything angry. I don't want to say anything hurtful. And if we keep going, I'm just going to say something I don't mean and say something I didn't think through. And thankfully, my wife is good about letting me have that space and that time to think. I've been in other relationships where it was, that allotment wasn't given. So you just say whatever's on the top of your mind while you're angry, and it just doesn't go well. Then you spend more time trying to clean up the mess you made for something you said that you didn't really mean. And there's like this weird thing where we think, or people think like, oh, like when you say something angry, you really mean it. And it's just not true. You say something really dumb when you're angry because you're being dumb. You can't think as well. You can't think as clearly. You say something stupid. Don't argue mad. You reach a point, and don't let yourself be forced into saying something that you don't necessarily believe in. Makes for a better marriage. And it's hard. I will say that it's hard to take that time away, especially because if they're upset, they're probably going to not want you to like go walk away. And you have to like make it clear, like you're walking away because you want to think about it, not because you want to get away from them, not because you're not interested in solving the issue, but that you need some time to put together your thoughts in a constructive way. And the nice part is that walking away a lot of times gives me that opportunity to realize that I'm being dumb and I don't really feel a certain way as passionately as I thought. I was gotten sucked into the moment and holding a position I didn't really care about. That's important. To judge, to know what you care about versus what you're just arguing for no good reason about. All right, I'm done warming up. Let's move to 20-pound or 40-pound dumbbells. Have some fun. I like ability to not think clearly and just say the dumbest stuff is also the cause of like a lot of these sensational YouTube videos, especially the ones involving Karens. You can tell, like, if you watch the videos, a lot of those videos, and you look at their faces, you can tell when they've like checked out and they're not thinking anymore. They're just saying whatever comes to the top of their brain. Um, they're completely gone. And it's good to be able to recognize that state in someone, because then you can also try talking them down and not trying to engage in a conversation that's only going to get worse. They've surrendered that capacity to their anger and their fear. Oh, thank you for the follow. Kaylin or Kaylee. I don't know. I said that wrong. What am I hitting today? I'm hitting biceps today. Oh, started out with a little bit of pull-ups, but now just on the biceps, working with the 40-pound dumbbells at the moment. So much fun. I thank you for the thumbs up. I'm just hanging out. Talking about confrontations and the importance of breathing. Started out talking about like why the side of the weight vest can constrict your breathing, which made me think that police officers wearing bulletproof vests might not think as clearly when they're in intense situations because they can't breathe as well. I'm just talking about that importance of breathing to calm down and to think. Nice. Thank you. Disappointing. 6 reps. So I shoot for 10 reps when doing the bicep curls. That's the goal. But just hit 6 there. First set was 10. I was expecting to see some drop in how many I could do, just because I typically do like biceps on Tuesday, but I'm trying to, instead of doing a hard, like, okay, Tuesday's biceps, Wednesday's chest, Thursday's legs, Fridays back or shoulders, I'm doing a more of a rotating schedule. So I just hit the next exercise every time I come in. That way I'm not skipping stuff. And a lot of times, like, I would end up skipping Fridays, just being burnt out, or just things would come up, or miss Wednesdays. So hopefully this will make me more consistent with hitting every part of the body, and not just dropping a whole muscle group off consistently. Anybody having a good day out there? Okay. This is why I think weightlifting and exercising is good, though, is it does give you that opportunity to put yourself under stress in a controlled situation, and then working through that stress, having yourself be familiar with being out of breath, having yourself be familiar with fatigue, so that if you do end up in an argument with somebody or in an intense situation, it's not your first time being in that space. So you're not gonna, hopefully not panic as much. So I think doing like some sort of martial arts involving grappling, whether it's wrestling or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, is also helpful. Then you have some combat experience. God forbid you get into a bad situation, you don't want to lose just because you don't know how to think in a bad spot. Let's sit with the 40s, and we go down to the 30s. So I like to do hard things with my kids. I think exposing them to things that are difficult and hard for them and teaching them to persevere is critically important in their development. Don't let like the first hard thing they have to do be real life. Give them confidence to know that when they're exhausted, they can be strong. I think when I was younger, that was one of the things that I learned that was awesome was like from running and doing things, I figured out that there was a point where if you pushed past the initial fatigue and desire to stop, then you could almost run forever. You just have to not stop putting one foot in front of the other and just ignore it, and your body will turn into a machine that'll just keep going. You just gotta get out of its way, figure out how to stay out of its way. A lot of people apply that simply to like working out and stuff, but I think it's also the same in life. When you're trying to problem solve, your lack of confidence, your inability to get out of your way, your mind's way, is going to lead to more problems. Especially when you think things like math. Like there's a lot of people that will say, "Oh, I can't do math," and they struggle with it. And what they don't realize is that there isn't a concept in basic math that your mind isn't doing on the regular within its own body. Like someone was illustrating once that geometry, your own mind figures out geometry on its own every time it has to throw a football and land it at a distance on a target. That's geometry, trigonometry. And if you just figure out how to get out of the way of your brain when solving problems, you can solve most of the problems. And sometimes it has to do with a bad teacher or some confusion on your part with what the actual question is asking. And sometimes there's a fundamental issue you have with the way math is taught and explained, which is difficult. I think also one problem in concurrent math is the concept of having to show your work. If you are naturally good at math or doing computations in your head, when someone says, "Okay, now you have to stop and show me how you did it," it can be very frustrating and tedious and annoying. And I think too, it's what led to like my issues with math and a lot of things. I hated doing homework when I was a kid. Like I could read the whole history chapter, really enjoy it. I hated having to go back and answer stupid questions that to me seemed dumb to write it down, because you didn't even have to read the chapter to answer the questions. You could just look at the highlighted sections of the chapter and then plug in the answers. And I was like, I can spend 10 minutes reading the whole chapter and learning it, or I can spend 3 minutes just doing the questions. And the fact that you want me to now spend 13 minutes potentially doing this task that could take 3 minutes, seems really, really dumb and pointless.